YouTubers. It's the middle of December 2023 and we are at New Norcia, about 130 kilometres north of Perth. Australia's only monastic town is in the wheat belt of Western Australia, and it really is an amazing place. This is quite a long video, not a history lesson, but an attempt to share what we enjoyed during our stay at New Norcia. Firstly, we're going to drive from north to south through the town, and then there'll be a brief advisory statement before we turn around and drive back south to north. After our northbound drive, we shall firstly go to the Visitors Centre and the museum, and then we'll have a look around the site of the former Aboriginal mission houses, then on to the monastery, the Abbey Church and the Rock of Remembrance. After this, a look at the educational colleges, the Aboriginal exhibition, the hostel, a bit more driving around before we check out the flour mill and the old police station, then a brief view of the olive oil workshop and the blacksmith shop, then finally the statue of Bishop Salvado, the cemetery, then lastly a look at the art gallery.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander viewers are advised this video contains images of deceased people. All viewers are advised historical, institutional, physical, emotional, and sexual abuse occurred at this location.
Norcia, established 1847. We're just coming into the town from the south now, and it's a service station on the left, and behind that there's a few places for caravans with power provided. It's quite a reasonable rate too. On the left hand side here now is the previous post office general store. Just behind that cross there in the brick building is the visitor centre and the art gallery. And of course on the other side, sort of coming up to the side of where the Aboriginal mission houses were. There was a few on this block here, and the other side of the trees. Next to the Abbey Church was the main section, so we'll be having a bit of a look at them later in depth. There's the monastery at the background. I love olive trees here, they're planted everywhere. The Abbey Church we're going past now. There's about 25 people work here, apart from there's only about 8 monks nowadays, but there's 25 workers here, so there's quite a few houses scattered around. There's a few down the end of this road here. On the left hand side is one of the former educational facilities. This is the old police station, which we'll have a bit more of a look at. It was built in 1860. This was the main road to Meekatharra up till the bypass was put in about 6 years ago. Like most people, we started our tour at the Visitors Centre. The Visitors Centre has the museum, the art gallery, plenty of gifts you can buy, and also that's the place where you book a tour. They have a couple of tours most days, and there's a fair range of gifts here, of very nice, good quality gifts, nicely packaged. Also got wine and beer. The beer is actually 7% alcohol, so she's got a bit of kick. Anyway, here's Mallie going into the museum, and we're greeted by Bishop Rosendo Salvado, founder of New Norcia, one of the first monks to come out. That's him in his youth. Quite an amazing man, and over the back we'll see him as an older man. He's actually died in Rome at the age of 86, but his remains were brought out and to be interred at New Norcia. At its peak in the late 1800s, there were up to 70 monks at New Norcia. Most of them came from Europe or Spain. And earlier on, in the first few years, the monks actually travelled around with the Aboriginal people in a nomadic lifestyle before they decided to establish the monastery and the mission. Salvado's first and greatest Aboriginal friend was William Biliagoro. Another remarkable Aboriginal chap around the near Norcia was William Monop. The initial plan of the mission was to introduce the Aboriginals to Christianity and teach them to be self-sufficient farmers and learn the skills required to do that through practical education. In the early days, the monks rose before 4 o'clock in the morning. The day was divided between prayer and labour. At one stage, the monastery controlled 90,000 acres of land and run 17,000 sheep. The Aboriginal men excelled at shearing, outputting between 80 and 100 a day, while their European counterparts generally managed about 20 to 30. As an accomplished musician himself, Rosendo Salvado was quick to note the Yule people's musical abilities. Among other things, they established the Aboriginal Boys Band, which was still in existence up until 1954. By sheer coincidence, we were at the museum on the 13th of December, which happens to be the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. There's a lot of history here, a lot to see, a fair bit of reading, and you can do so in air-conditioned comfort at your leisure. And the other back outside with the glass next to the Abbey Church and having a look over the side of where the Aboriginal mission houses were. There was up to 20 houses here with Aboriginal families living in them, who mostly received an education at the mission and went on to work at the mission afterwards. The original school was just over the road where that building there is. Inside this picket fence is some pavers which shows the size of the two-room houses that the Aboriginals lived in. This old lithograph from 1872 shows the plan of New Norcia at that stage. And this was one of the houses that the families lived in. And there's an aerial shot. I think this building in the front might have been the school. There's another shot of a house, and that could be the church right at the back there. And here's some of the families. Some of the families that lived there. Puan family. Nelgo family. Didn't quite catch the name there. I did all this on an old iPhone X, so it wasn't actually the latest and greatest gear to be filming with, but another family there. There's one of the monks, a couple of Aboriginal boys. There's another one of the washing day, which we saw earlier on. A lot of emphasis on gaining the practical skills, so to enable the people to become self-sufficient farmers. The miracle of the bushfire, 1847, is an interesting story which you may like to investigate yourself. They were wandering down the road, or might be driving at this stage, to have a look at the monastery. They have a guest house and they have a chapel there. Visitors can join the monks in prayers or at morning mass if they so wish to. They run retreats for their house guests as well. So, just sort of wandering up towards the gate of the monastery. That's the Abbey Church on the left-hand side there, which we'll have a look at shortly. This was the original road to Meekatharra. initially, before it was moved over in front of the schools. Anyway, just having a bit of a poke inside the courtyard of the monastery. There's Saint Benedict. He was actually born in New Norcia. That's why they named it New Norcia, after the birthplace of Saint Benedict. Anyway, we're wandering down now to have a look at the Abbey Church. The New Norcia mission was founded by Rosendo Salvado, a Benedictine monk, originally from Spain. The Rock of Remembrance, which we're going to have a bit more in-depth look at later. Looking inside the Abbey Church now. There's the main altar. It's in the shape of a cross. Some interesting artwork, hand-drawn artwork, including the Stations of the Cross, which we'll take a look at now, and I might stop talking for a little while we scan around the church. German organ was bought out at great expense a long time ago anyway. I think it might have been the end of the 1880s. It sits in one end of the church. They actually had to renovate the roof a little bit to get it in. The tomb of Rosendo Salvado, 1814 to 1900. Benedictine monk, missionary, author. The ceiling of the Abbey Church is absolutely magnificent. My photography is not doing it justice. Just have a quick look at it before we move on to the colleges. This footage coming up was taken during the tour. The tours cost $20 or $25. It's a 2-hour tour. It's well worth it. This is a magnificent building, built in 1912, St. Alphonsus College. It was run by the Maris brothers from 1913 to 1964, after which the monks took it back over, and it was called St. Benedicts College up until 1972. Just having a look inside the chapel, and you don't sort of get to go upstairs to see the rooms upstairs or anything. You mainly just see this chapel, which is absolutely magnificent, and a credit to the monks that did the artwork. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. outside now and having a drive around and a walk around the back the following morning, and just having a bit of scale and the amount of bricks that the monks must have produced there. I think they had their own kiln. I'd have to check that, but this is actually the handball courts, and it's an absolute masterpiece just by itself. Handball must have been fairly fashionable in the early part of the 20th century. Not being used now. There's the first court's storage shed, and the others are just sort of sitting there not doing much, but you can see that it was well built and looks as good as the day it was when it was built. But yeah, some of they've gone to a lot of trouble to make it look very aesthetically pleasing. I'm just having a bit of a prowl around here, and like this section here, I think they call the arches, and I expect that's where the pupils would have had their lunch. They would probably have had a few more stools and that under here. They would have been able to get out of the weather and eat their lunch outside or whatever they did. And yeah, it's another really very well constructed building. I think that porch was added on a bit later, but there's another section here. But it'll be here in 500 years' time. Just a little bit more footage I took when I was having a drive around one evening. A little bit different light, and you can see some of the intricate brickwork on top of these corner pillars that the guys did. It's pretty fancy work, and I don't think anyone nowadays would do that just for a handball court, but yeah, anyway, it's they certainly didn't hold back when they were building something. That's having a look at the rear of Alphonsus there, Alphonsus College. 1972, St Alphonsus and St Gertrude's, a girls' boarding school, became the one educational facility known as Salvador College, which closed in 1991. Built in 1908, St Gertrude's College is truly an awe-inspiring sight, stuck out here in the middle of the Australian bush. It was a girls' boarding school staffed by the Sisters of St Joseph, I think up till 1972. Still on our tour. After we finished St Alphonsus, we had a short walk down through the grounds to St Gertrude's, which is an equally magnificent building. And yeah, quite an astonishing sight to see this out among the gum trees. Once again, we don't get to see much else apart from the chapel, but even that's still very worthwhile. There's a bit of memorabilia about the Sisters of St Joseph. And another beautiful chapel, similar to the one at St Alphonsus. Some very intricate and beautiful work done by the monks. You almost think you're looking at the Sistine Chapel. There's a view of the borders in 1914. Off the art gallery is St Joseph's Orphanage exhibition. Up the stairs, and you'll find a room jam-packed full of memorabilia. set up with like a classroom with a few practical items scattered around. There's a lot of placards to read. It's probably a couple of hours reading here if you wanted to do the whole lot. There's a few of the old furnishings and historic items on display. It's pretty interesting to have a look through it all. Looks like this was the chapel for the convent, because it looks like there'd been the altar there. Helen Cupper was educated at the orphanage at New Norcia. She went on to become the first postmistress of New Norcia in 1874, and I think the first Aboriginal postmistress or master in Australia. As part of the New Norcia tour, we were shown through the Aboriginal exhibition. Very nice air-conditioned room, lots of pictures on display and lots of reading. Another remarkable woman, Serra was a full-blood Aboriginal woman from Bunbury. When Helen Cupper became ill and retired as New Norcia's telegraphist and postmistress in 1975, Salvado put forward Sarah Kayuingo's name to be her successor. For many years, up to the mid-20th century, New Norcia was an orphanage and school for Aboriginal children. The boys' school was called St Mary's and the girls' school was called St Joseph's. Built in 1927 and nestled beneath gum trees on a rise overlooking the township. The hostel was built for parents of the boarders at the New Norcia colleges, and for many years after the close of the colleges, it operated as a hotel. This grand neoclassical style building sitting in the Australian bush is quite a bewildering sight. The New Norcia hostel boasts 15 comfortable rooms, which have shared facilities, swooping verandas and balconies to sit on and soak up the peace and tranquility of the Australian bush. It's generally available for rental for groups of 10 or more if you're interested. Leaving the hostel, just taking a little drive around the back of the buildings up towards St Gertrude's. You'll see the Great Wall of New Norcia as we approach. This is really a very serious fence with the amount of bricks and the intricate work on some of the pillars. Building on the right is the Central Library. Continuing the evening drive, we're getting up to the northern end of the grounds and coming around the corner. On the right hand side is the flour mill. Some old machinery, and over in the distance, you see a little white building there is the original flour mill. And The flour mill is included in part of the New Norcia tour. It's interesting to see the machinery that drove the flour mill, starting off at a steam engine and then a diesel motor and then finally an electric motor. And then it's multi-level, so we get to go up the stairs and have a look up there as well. Looking out the window of the flour mill, some rusting old farm machinery and graders. The countryside's dried off for the summer, and coming back inside, they have on display the original plough that Rosendo Salvado used to start cultivating the land at New Norcia. Just taking a bit of a closer look at the New Norcia police station, built in 1860. In later years it became a house for farm employees, some families staying there for 30 and 40 years. And a bit of a closer look up to it, the old original flour mill, and then sort of looking down towards the blacksmith shop over in the distance and the olive oil workshop, which we'll go and have a look at shortly. This building is the olive oil workshop, and we'll just catch a brief glimpse of the blacksmith shop as we do a U-turn. Born in Spain in 1814, Rosendo Salvado belonged to a long-lived musical family, not without some wealth. Pledging his talents and vigour to a higher cause, Salvado entered the monastery at 15. He was ordained a priest at about 20 and became a bishop in his early 50s. Most famously, he is known as the founder of the New Norcia mission and the first abbot of the New Norcia monastery. Just having a look around the cemetery now. The cemetery is in a direct line with the monastery, the Abbey Church, the statue of Rosendo Salvado. They all form a straight line. Quite an old cemetery, and sort of separated into a few different sections. These steel crosses here are the monks. The big one in the middle there is the tomb of the second abbot, Fulgentius Torres, and the abbot Torres, and these are the ones that followed him, the third, fourth, and the fifth abbots of New Norcia. You can see the fence behind starting to fall down a little bit, but by and large it's probably as good as a lot of cemeteries around the rest of the country. Here's a couple of the Aboriginal graves with wooden crosses. I believe there's a lot of unmarked graves here. I think the monastery's making a bit of an effort to find out who's who and where they're buried. This is the grave of Helen Cupper, who was the first postmistress and telegraphic operator at Norcia, who sadly died, I think it was from TB, at the age of about 30, a married woman. Very sad. Have a look at the tomb of Abbot Torres with the monastery's logo there, which means peace. Next to the Abbey Church, the Rock of Remembrance is a memorial to people who have experienced neglect and abuse. The memorial, installed by the present-day monastery community, is an acknowledgement of and a sincere apology for the physical, emotional and sexual abuse suffered in this place. Laid out in the form of a cross, symbolising the cross of Christ, it represents the hope of new life beyond pain and suffering. Albert Namatjira, born in 1902, was a famous Aboriginal painter from the Macdonald Ranges in Central Australia. The new Norcia Gallery has a good collection of his beautiful paintings. Going up the stairs now to the main art gallery. Saint Jerome and the Dream of the Last Judgment. This section of the gallery features some Aboriginal art, some modern styles and abstract art.
A big thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment if you wish. And, by the way guys, I must say, I'm a computer-generated AI model, and I speak the text that Jack has entered. See you next time and may God bless you.